mistakes that their opponents were making yesterday. So they've got to keep it a lot more clean and concise against Liquid, who are a team that tends to lack that mistake factor when they play.
All right, we're jumping straight into this bad boy. We're going to dip out, but it's Team 1, or sorry, Los 1 against Team Liquid. I'm reading the names backwards. And it will be the winner of this going immediately into Stage 2 of the Copenhagen Major. Gentlemen, have fun.
Thanks, Jacob. This one should be good. At the end of the day, like Jacob said, this is to decide a major spot, John. This is as intense as you're going to find. Sure, the final of the playoffs would be more exciting, but the final is not what sends you to Copenhagen. It's the semifinals right now that could lock it in. Los 1 and Team Liquid. Obviously, Los 1, as we've kind of spelled out here, coming in as a little bit of that underdog. Team Liquid had a bye straight to the semifinals after topping their group. But if Los 1 want to make a statement here in this best-of-3 theme park, is where they're going to start and make it happen.
And starting out with some really creative bans. I've got to commend especially the Flores being removed on this map. You tend to see a lot of extensions that either have a zombie, Kiba barriers, or deployable shields bundled up next to ADSs and Surya gates alike. So Rotero drones are a really good counter to that utility that's bundled up in power spots like waiting room, like cafe, for example, or even anywhere in the first floor when you are just anchoring down below in a site like Armory and Throne. So getting rid of one of the best operators to remove that, which again is an operator that both Los 1 and Team Liquid bring out a lot, I think that's a solid move. Along with the rest of the operator bans as well that we've seen. Ying has played a lot just in the Brazil region. Mira is a top-notch operator for Theme Park. And also Mute, just general drone denial. I think it's good to have that removed as well, since for Brazil, drone economy can be a little bit weaker in the late run.
I mean, yeah, this is a pretty standard ban phase as one would expect, but specifically here on Theme Park, right? Every single one of these operators has a pretty strong implication as to how this map plays out. You brought up the Ying, John, and I'll double down because I think that the Ying, right, we've seen her explosive power, like somewhere like Break Room when trying to work your way into dorms and daycare. I mean, that right there is a perfect operator to push in and get something going early. And it's something that a lot of teams try to utilize as best they can. It's not going to be something that Team Liquid will have to worry about, though, as they start off this map. It'll instead be really a focus on what else these teams want to bring out if they do want to get explosive. I would not be shocked if we see something like the Amaru come out. I would not be shocked if we see the Nook pick come out on the attacking side as well. With a map like Theme Park, I mean, there's just so much possibility when it comes to creeping your way in from a different surprising spot on the map and getting a couple of nades thrown from below.
And Nook was brought out a lot by Los 1 when they played Theme Park yesterday. I wouldn't be too shocked if we see her again. I think Dash was the main person to bring that for Los 1. And being able to have someone as well be in the first floor almost constantly throughout the whole round is also very impactful. Yellow Stairs is a position that can't be dealt with very effectively unless you have someone actively challenging from that staircase. And if you look at a bomb site like Bunk and Daycare, like Army, for example, Yellow Stairs is a position where defenders can just sit and deny you from getting the yellow wall opened up, going into Armory when it's that first floor bomb site. You could deny anyone from crossing from waiting room into the bomb site of Bunk or just going down that yellow hallway as well. So again, making sure you get that proper map control on your attacking half and don't end up being just too linear, which is kind of what Los 1 fell into yesterday. That's going to be huge against a team like Team Liquid that is going to want to use their whole map to their advantage. And I could imagine with Nesk bring out the Azami, they're going to be doing exactly that. They're going to have those Kibas brought up above and maybe utilizing some of those black eye cameras to help assist info-wise for that top floor row.
Yeah, those Kivas could be just so powerful here on this map. I mean, like every single map, we emphasize those power positions that you can create with that operator and just the power that she brings when utilized correctly. It's something that Los 1 will need to quickly get under wraps. Otherwise, yes, they could be in a load of trouble. As we emphasized in the pre-show, when we saw these two teams clash during the group stage, it was Team Liquid on top by a mile. It was, I think 7-3 was the overall scoreline there, but it didn't look that close. Team Liquid, when it came to denying Los One entry game on the attack, it was swift, it was decisive, and, you know, frankly, a little bit disheartening for Los One and Los One fans. This is exactly why. You had someone like Volps, you had someone like Palu playing so just coordinated with each other, but also playing fairly aggressive, going for plays like this, taking the fight directly to Los One before they could really get established and get in the building. And so Los One, they should hopefully have come prepared now. They know what they're dealing with, and maybe Maya here on the IQ could help them get the information they need to enter the building safely.
And looking to instigate that first attack, that first line of attack, pardon. It seems like for Los One, they want to have an emphasis still over by the cafe side of the map, but also break room. Dash just hops in with the Gar hook, but he's in a really bad position, and Palu doesn't engage quickly enough. Dash will still get away with his life, but he is very low in HP, and with that being your main source of hard breach, only having the Maverick in case something goes south, you would like to keep Dash alive, because if you only have the Maverick blowtorch to work with, it's going to take a long time to get those main walls opened up for the execute.
Yeah, this is going to be a much tougher proposition now for Los One to get this done with an impact or a C4 that 3 lie in Team Liquid's pocket. Sending those up to the ceiling above the site, I mean, quickly that could take care of the 1 HP Dash. Keeping in mind that Los One still have a lot of work to do to get in the building. A little bit of a surprise in break room was not enough. They now actually have to force Palu out. They've done that successfully thanks to a good play from Dots here on the Maverick. And now they actually have to seize control of this top floor and gets boots on ground. They've done that with about 1:15 remaining. They finally have some control to speak for. But again, not a ton of time considering the HP left on someone like Dash, on someone like Lobin, and how comfortable Liquid seem to be on the site below.
Secondary hard breach popped. It seems like the Maverick of Dots is also looking to get this split hatch opened up, at least enough to where he can hold an angle looking through split in case they want to go for a yellow execute. He can hold that cutoff angle without someone playing towards that arcade staircase. But again, we've talked about the timer so many moments here, Jonah, and it's still just going down faster and faster here for Los One. They only have 30 seconds to look for an entry spot and to take a gunfight they could maybe win to then flood.
Only 2 drones remaining is going to make things a little more difficult. The IQ, some information there, but that's not going to be enough to really allow you to just push in and execute knowing where these defensive players are. Instead, you're going to be walking blind into so many engagements just like that. Volps with the opener. Lobin and Maya, though, get a response. There's another one for Lobin. Dots gets one more, and just like that, it's resets. The last player standing. Los One just walk in the door, take gunfights, and win them. It's all up to the Valkyrie. A brutal 1v4 situation, and yeah, not enough intel for him either. It'll be Deagle in hand, C4 in hand, and Maya to take the gunfight and win it. Los One, what a start.
An impressive one at that, Jonah. I'd have to agree, especially since, again, they were so limited on time and they lost that opening gunfight, but they weren't going in for an execute towards the back of Throne. They were looking to, again, get the yellow wall opened up and try to push in and plant a little bit closer towards that furnace, if not vaulting up and going in for the other default position as well, which, with no one trying to roam or have some sort of flank happen in the late round for Team Liquid, there was no one to surprise Los One in the end round to maybe halt that yellow execute. And luckily, with your Amaru still being alive to pop off that secondary hard breach and get the yellow wall opened up, that allowed for an execute to still happen over by yellow into the bomb site of Armory. If we saw that opening gunfight go the way of Apollo, where he just narrowly wins an engagement against Dash, then we might have seen a completely different round, just because there were still 5 defenders up and they only had to worry about split and dragon.
I think that the first round, though, John, is a very good indicator for Los One, because yes, it wasn't structured beautifully. They were forced into that awkward 15-second execute, last moment kind of all-out push, but the fact that they were able to dominantly win those gunfights and just beat Liquid at their own gun-heavy game is a really good sign going forward. It shows that they can go toe-to-toe with this team that has proved to be so mechanically gifted. And as we know, one of the points that Jacob and Connor made coming into this is that Los One, their stat line yesterday, for example, wasn't all that great, even though they ended up taking the win. really Maya's the only player with an above average stat line here. So if everyone on Los 1 can keep doing exactly that, allowing someone like Loban, Maya, Dots to get those kills, they're setting themselves up for success.
Even in the late round, we could see players like Rise pop off as well, winning an impactful 1 or 2 kills, and that completely halts their opponents from getting any more map control or executing effectively. So really interested to see if Rise can get a little more proactive in the rest of this matchup, especially now being on the Jack. A lot of info can be gathered on these initial roamers, seeing when they are able to effectively fall off or not, and just guaranteeing what positions on the map Los 1 can take without potentially challenging a gunfight. And so far, they might need to engage on Nest rather soon. He's got a lovely angle here looking into Cafe and just smokes Maya. Your main entry now gone, but the rest of the clear is still going relatively fine for Los 1 despite that initial hiccup.
The strength of those Kiba barriers on full display. You give yourself a little one-way angle to work with, make it so awkward for the attackers to push into that. That's going to favor Nesk every single time. Well, because Maya simply couldn't see him. That's just the way it is with that piece of utility. Now, speaking of being blindsided, that's Resets, who doesn't have a chance to see Rise before he gets his head taken clean off, but Liquid are going to remain strong this time. Lagonis gets one, Volps gets another, and that'll leave Dots and Dash in a weird spot. Getting eyes on the site is something, but they're not going to have the bodies to make this one happen. Dots trying to push in, just staring these defenders in the face. It'll be Lagonis with the shorty to finish out the round, and Liquid who find their response.
And luckily, still having that Cafe control, there are so many positions that Rise has to worry about. Not only that, but adding a flank into the mix as well. He's trying to multitask so many different spots where a defender could potentially be, and he's just not close enough to bring out his Inox scanner and detect where someone like Nest could be in Cafe. There's still so much of the map he has to cross over to even get, at a breathing distance to Cafe. And on top of that, again, the flank, he's got no idea about that. There's no info across that side of the map. So sure, he got a refrag after Maya had died, but there was a lot left to accomplish on that round. And for a site like Lab and Storage, you tend to also see positions still being held by Armory and Throne. So even if Los 1 were able to clear out that top floor, they still have a lot left to accomplish with only about a minute left on the timer, which still leaves them susceptible to flanks due to that lack of info.
Yeah, info, I think, was part of that problem on the top floor. Even though we saw the Jackal in play from Rise, it just wasn't enough, right? He was able to sneak in, get a kill, but quickly Liquid found their footing. They knew they had the right people in the right places to go for those flanks, as you mentioned, John, to put themselves in those powerful positions and really just find the trades and close out the round. So Liquid, good response, especially that early start there from Nesk in Cafeteria. I mean, it's the kind of thing that it's just so difficult to fight if you're Los 1, especially if you're alone and you're Los 1, like we saw Maya taking that 1v1. So if they're going to try to push that position again or positions like it, maybe it'd be good to see Los 1 play a little bit more unified here. Obviously tough on a map like Theme Park, just given how big it is and how many players you need alive in different positions to maintain that map control. But I think that's just one example of where Los 1 could tidy it up a little bit, maybe find a little bit more success.
Los 1 now dealing with a bunk bomb site defense here for Team Liquid, and there is a plethora of utility. You've got several deployable shields. Oh, and not the frost mats. I was hoping we wouldn't have to touch up on that, but it seems to be an aggressive attack by Los 1, but it's kind of backfired. The only one to respond for Los 1 has been Maya. The sledge caught with his hammer in pocket. Palu racks up 2, and Volps with the final kill, the shotgun to solidify. Liquid, I guess they were completely hands on deck for that surprise attack that their opponents were trying to go for.
Yeah, see, that is how their initial clash looked like. That's how Bank felt like in the group stage. Los 1 just trying a bunch of different things to get past the Liquid defense, and none of those things worked. You try to throw a little surprise at them, you try to get a little aggressive early, and Liquid just shut the door in your face. It's exactly what happened there, as Los 1 were just completely denied from trying to take that push. So 3 rounds down, and Liquid have already established themselves with the upper hand here. 2-1, the lead they're securing. Brought out Lab and Supply as well a couple rounds ago, which was especially impressive because they're working a pretty confident site rotation now. They've ignored initiation and office, instead favoring the other 3 sites on this map, but are choosing to go back down to Throne and Armory to reattempt the site from the opening round.
Usually you try to ignore office if you are not a fan of having a cash direct take used against you. So far, we haven't seen Los1 really develop a lot of players by cash specifically, but they have shown to start out from the control hatch, specifically Rise when he's playing on that Jackal, and then he pushes in. It's about the same kind of deal. And again, if the bomb site is office, you'll probably have a bigger emphasis on cash, which is where Volps and a couple other defenders have been starting their roam. So not having to worry about it as much, having the ability to fall off and not give away vital map control is a good idea for Liquid, and now they're going to have the rest of the top 4 to work with if they really need to, and not have to, again, worry about office as the bomb site. So I agree. I kind of like Lab as their secondary or tertiary bomb site rather than one of the other ones up above.
Ooh, well, a good nade to start off round number 4 from Los1. That's Nesk who falls victim to that. Maybe in a overly predictable position, potentially in Cafe again, trying to hold off that pressure like he has been on several occasions. This time it is the nade from Lobin that ends his life a bit earlier than he would have liked. We also see some early pressure, though, from Maya. Wait a minute. At Dragon Door, wide swing onto Lagonis, and the opening kill, or rather the second kill for Los1 in this round. The third found by Dash. This site, once again for Liquid, is crumbling, but this time a lot sooner.
Still a minute 40 to go. Plenty of time here for Los1, and Maya, he just does not lose those, leaving just Palu now in 1 versus 4. Jonah, I don't think we're going to be able to see Palu come back, but maybe he can work a miracle here. He eliminates Lobin, who's playing over by Split, but just as I mentioned it, the caster curse rears his ugly head. Dots gets the final elimination, and Los1 are keeping us even in the first half.
Yeah, no miracle there from Palu, but no miracle needed from Los1 either. That one was textbook. The first round we saw on this map, same site, by the way, it was a very, very slow and very, very methodical clear from Los1. They took their time, they worked their way in up above, and it came down to the last 15 seconds. This round, we barely crossed the 90-second mark when the round ended. It was early pressure from Los1 and a great job recognizing the openings that Team Liquid left for them. That roam, that aggression on the top floor, it backfired tremendously. It left some gaps in that first floor defense, and Maya so cleverly recognized that.
Aggressive kind of execute by Los1 where it was almost a minute flat where you saw several people just drop dead like flies. So trying to see something a little more methodical by them could be the proper remedy. Maybe even having someone go underneath. Again, I talked about Dash in the last matchup he played on Theme Park just yesterday. He brought out Nook religiously. Having someone with info and those grenades underneath can net you a lot of kills almost for free, if not just cause a little bit more chaos, which can give the rest of your teammates more opportunities to get into the building from the first floor, whether it be going across the map by caching control, looking into that direction a bit closer towards waiting room, or again, starting from Cafe, which has been a consistent trend here for Los1, no matter which bomb site they're playing against.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We've seen a lot of the early round unfold up here where Nesk has been playing. It's gone his way a couple of times. It's also not gone his way a couple of times, given that Los1 have done a nice job of kind of adapting to the setup that Nesk is throwing their way. But here we see an interesting change. Of course, we're going back down to Lab, but on the Los1 side of things, we see the Monty coming out from Dots. This should be interesting. I mean, that implies that the vertical clear is either going to have extreme emphasis or no emphasis at all. The Monty will allow them to either rumble their way through that roam with a little bit of support rather quickly, but if they wanted to go a bit more direct, like we've seen them find some success with over the past few rounds, I think they're also leaving themselves a good bit of cushion for that. You're not going to see a half-ditched effort, though, either way. If they're going to clear this map, they're going to do it aggressively, and they're going to do it all the way. And I think that's exactly what Maya is trying to, at the very least, tease right now with some pressure into Cafe and top arcade.
And Rise having that cutoff by Bunk could be very helpful in the late run if someone is still falling off closer towards that waiting side of the map, or even just the yellow hallway as well. And I believe, yeah, the idea of bringing out dots here on the Montaigne is just to be that space maker across the map, allowing the map to be cleared out at a much faster rate and maybe having a chance of not losing anybody on this top floor. Nade tossed out below, but luckily the Azami of Nesk is not too close near that vertical entryway, so he's going to be able to dodge that for the time being. And actually, I was wrong. It's a Montaigne rush right into the bomb site with the help of the skeleton key.
Yeah, here they go. Lagonis is going to feel this pressure very soon, and there it is. Maya with the opening kill in this one, and now the site has been ripped apart by Los1. Liquid need to return to this very quickly or find some way to get this vertical pressure working for them. Look at Volps rumbling through the site. That's 2 kills. Watch for the C4. It's coming out. That means that Dots has to push up into him, and somebody is lurking their way in from behind. The drop down, the swarm from Liquid has come, and now here they go with a counter defuse. Great coverage there from Volps. That's a quad kill for him. Rise has to work his way down, but he is far too late. More Los1 aggression, but again, Liquid find a way to stop it.
And having that intel there by the black eye cameras, and I was going to say the bulletproof, but luckily that was shot out by the ace. Still having info in the bomb site, it allowed Volps to thrive. He knew exactly where everyone on Los1 was inside of the bomb site and how he's supposed to engage against them in the one-on-one. Not only that, but also giving his Oryx time to come back into the bomb site so they can challenge the Montaigne together and force him out in the open. He can't play in a tight-knit corner to huddle himself up and just play with his shield fully extended, watching over that diffuser. The C4 forced him in a really awkward position inside of storage, and then the Oryx dashed into him. He sacrificed himself, and luckily Volps won that trade. Now the Montaigne's dead, and there's no one in the bomb site anymore. And it can be really challenging to have vertical coverage on the diffuser. Usually you get vertical down just to force out those anchors so you can get in the bomb site to plant for a site like Lap and Storage. So they only had the window pressure at that point. The ace was locked out of the bomb site, and once the window player died by Storage, it was just a matter of hitting the F key and just waiting for the diffuser to be disabled.
Well, I mean, it was something that we did see coming a little bit. It was those 2 options that really Los1 had. Either use the Monty to clear the map or use the Monty to just blitz into the site within 2 seconds. And of course, it was the latter that they ended up choosing. You had Maya really just as the distraction. Start the round the same as you've started every other round. Make Liquid assume that you're going to go for the full clear, but then go for the prank, sneak their way in. April Fools were in the bomb site. Watch out. Now you've got a retake. But Liquid held their own in that post-plant situation. So nicely done for them. It's very clear at this point that Los1, they've got a game plan and they're sticking to it, whether it works or not. We've seen aggression pay off. We've seen these early moves result in disaster as well. We've seen a little bit of both, but it seems that they are going to keep on keeping on, and they are going to try to bring out that strategy in this final attacking round as well. The Monty will rear his head again. You've got Loban once again bringing out the Nook, the power of the Dokkaebi for that information. A lot of options here for Los1 as to how they want to approach this.
Loban now at the top of Dragon here. Position somewhat known because of that goo mine, but luckily he's got plenty of info and his opponent of resets as well, maybe allowing this Montaigne to get a little bit more coverage by control room. But having all those goo mines just lying in wait by initiation is going to make Dots' job very challenging unless someone can spot them and have time to destroy them. If not, Dots might force himself to tuck a little bit close towards Pillar, allow his teammates to get a bit more aggressive, and that could allow a huge opportunity for resets to pop off.
Nesk, once again, for the 6th round in a row, it feels like, is taking the heat there in Cafe, but right now, holding his own. Same goes here for resets. Tucked in the close corner of initiation, using the support from the deployable shield and Volps and his smokes to potentially choke out anyone who wants to walk in that control room door. Volps will rotate around, potentially realizing that now Los1 are doing the same. They're trying to work their way in from the other side, work their way into office. Lagonis, he's been spotted by the Monty now, so he's in a very awkward spot, but he's gonna hop up and somehow get that kill. What? Nesk will get another here too. Volps with the shotgun, now the smoke pops. Dash is in an awkward spot, knows there's somebody trapped. No, doesn't know there's somebody trapped in vault, potentially going to work his way through the site now, hoping for another element of surprise, and it'll work. That gets him a kill. And now he'll chase down the vault player. What a surprise play that pays off for Los One, but now he's all alone with 1 HP and simply no time remaining. Palu should have no trouble shutting this one down. He'll swing the corner, and he will do it. Team Liquid will close out the half with some success, 2 rounds in a row to put themselves on top, 4-2 going into the swap.
And the impact not only of having resets, play and initiation with all of those goon mines, but also having your smoke player of Volps across the map with a deployable shield that no one can reach because there's just a lack of range self-destruction. Having both of those mixed together, it completely flatlined Los One's chance of getting into initiation with the Montaigne, so they had to adjust. They had to play into the opposing extension that Team Liquid had inside of Vault and offices, with that deployable shield just stuck in the middle of that room. And luckily, having Lagonis in such a power spot, Dots really couldn't do anything as the Montaigne. That forfeits case control, and it's just a bloodbath between Los One and Liquid. There was a moment where it did look promising there for Los One at the very end for Dash, but with such a lack of time and there being still so much site presence there by Team Liquid on top of having the man advantage, it wasn't around meant to be. Solid job by Team Liquid for punishing them for essentially not having the right tools for the job in that round, and that's going to cost them that 3 and 3 half we were really harping on during the death segment that Los One needed for Theme Park.
I will say before moving on to this next half, the play from Dash on the Dokkaebi there, choosing to push the site quickly and then go back for the vault player. I mean, that was one of those Giga Brave plays that you just don't see working very often, but it worked beautifully in this case because, I mean, Team Liquid, they figured that, all right, you've got Lagonis stuck in the vault here. There's no way that anyone's going to get past him and into the site, right? Anybody who wants to get through office has to challenge him, but they were mistaken. And obviously that resulted in a couple of kills found by Los One, but at the end of the day, not enough to change the course of the round. C4 goes up, but Palu will stay completely full HP as he had the range of the skeleton key to open up the hatch rather than the compact range of that breaching hammer to give him a little bit more breathing room there and allow him to open up the map safely. But through this first minute of the second half, right, we see Liquid on the attacking side bringing out a very similar philosophy to what we saw from Los One. You're bringing out the Dokkaebi, the Jackal to help you with that map clear, the combination of the two. But the Habana from resets would be a little bit different.
Team Liquid still haven't entered in a cache doorway. Loban spots out a drone and doesn't opt to get aggressive and go for that run out. He'll opt to fall away instead, and seems like Dash across the map. He's going to get entry. Nice shot landed by Volts, and Rise as well in a really tricky spot, fully blinded by the stun. And now he's got another angle to worry about control, but the reaction with the 9mm, what an impressive shot landed. And Los One, they're still trading blows against Team Liquid. They still have control of this top floor. Sure, it's only the alibi left now, but at least it's better than nothing at this point, Jonah. Maya eventually falls away, but it's far too late, and Team Liquid eventually, after a scrappy bout, they come out with 2-player advantage and plenty of time left to execute.
That's going to sting there for Maya. Had an opportunity to retreat to safety twice. Chose to swing the doorway again and again. And by the time he decided to actually rotate away, I mean, it was too late. The call out was there. Team Liquid, they established the crossfire, and good night, alibi. Now it's just Dots, the last player that stands between Team Liquid and a 5th round, a 3rd round in a row. He's in a 1v2 situation here and is going for, well, a bit of a flank, trying to maybe reestablish some control on this top floor in that 1v3. So working his way up, hoping to remain unnoticed by the only 2 drones that remain. But now he's got to find a way to stop this plant. Drops down, that's going to be heard. Accidentally lets a bullet fly too, so his position is known. Lagonis, drop shot, no good, but resets for the trade is there. Team Liquid, that's 3 in a row.
Great discipline by Lagonis as well, realizing that his opponent's not going to be able to rotate inside a barrel in time to get a good angle against him. There's someone by throne watching split for the time being. So he can get that plant down safely and not really feel too pressured out, especially considering that the best option for Dots is just to impact the ace, but from the hatch, it's a really awkward angle. It might not land close enough to that corner, so he kind of had to drop. And Los One kind of forced to take a timeout as well. They haven't had the best start as what they were expecting. on Theme Park, and they're just hoping they can get a bit of a mental reset against Liquid, looking to slow down that momentum as they only now have just begun on the defensive half. So they haven't seen a lot of what Liquid are opting for on the attack. But if Liquid end up winning another round, then that's already map point. They're kind of forced to take a timeout because of that awkward first half.
Yeah, they got to put themselves now in a position to succeed if they can. I mean, like you said, down 3, match point looming on the horizon, or at least map point looming on the horizon. So really trying to stave off that 6th round for Liquid as long as they can and set themselves up well here. They're going to make the interesting choice to go back to Throne again, go for the repeat, and maybe change up how they're playing this. I mean, the operator selection doesn't suggest dramatic changes, though. I mean, this is a lineup built for roaming, built for information denial up above, Loben on the Mozzie, for example. And Team Liquid, as we saw in that last round, they came prepared. They're once again going to put the same focus into that roam clear. It was the Jackal-Dokkaebi combo in round number 7. And right now, of course, we are seeing a couple of repicks come in, but we're also going to see a similar emphasis. You've got the Dokkaebi, you've got the Nomad now joining the effort as well. And instead of the Lion, which I was going to talk about, we've got the Monty coming out for Lagonis.
Still having an emphasis on getting that hatch opened up if it's opted to be reinforced by low swan up above. Not a bad option. And also, again, maybe relying on that post-plant position that Liquid were going for last time will be re-emphasized on round number 8. Definitely not a bad option whatsoever. And I like the flank watch as well. Sure, you only had dots flanking, but that could have been a very different story if there were more bodies available to low swan. So just having that insurance policy is also a nice touch here for Team Liquid, not really hoping to flounder any opportunities that they've gained just to see it lost by low swan going in for a huge power play.
Nesk wary of the cash presence here from Loben. The same position that we saw Volps maintaining every single defensive round for Team Liquid. So they're familiar with this playstyle, but as we see here, very familiar with countering it as well. Loben, he, well, just tried to bite off a little more than he could chew, and Nesk was just waiting with open arms to shut that kind of play down. Maya now maybe looking to take up a similar mantle, focused specifically on denying that cash entry. But now that Liquid have that kill, I mean, it looks like they may try to rotate around. I mean, you look here, resets, top dragon entry, the wide swing onto Maya in the waiting room will not pay off, giving Low Swan a bit more purchase up above. But again, Palu, the good trade still coming in from Liquid, taking care of Rise, putting themselves up by 1 yet again.
Really questionable engagement there, playing so aggro by control, and the hatch is already opened up, and it seems to backfire. The impact lined up, and it connects on the exothermic. A little more time wasted now for Liquid, but they've got plenty of seconds and utility to spare. 2 secondary hard breaches, 1 now deployed, so there is an angle opened up into the bomb site. Now Lagonis can gather info for his teammates. They know one is in the back of Throne. They've got plenty of utility to force him out. Not only that, but they can also try to go for this exothermic, and the impact doesn't land. The wall's opened up, and that's their ticket to get into the bomb site.
Yeah, all they got to do is walk in now with the Monty at the helm. Lagonis already doing that, so Dash, the Oryx, he's coming back quickly to support this, but watch out. Bullets fly, nades flying everywhere, and now this bomb's going down. Great coverage from Nesk. It's all up to the man himself, the player we talked about coming into this map. It's Maya to try to make something happen, but Liquid, who will once again deny him outright. Team Liquid, they move up to a 6-2 advantage here on Theme Park, and this is map point.
And Team Liquid opting to go a little more direct in comparison to round number 7, I think was the correct move. Because Low Swan, they didn't have any utility to stop that. They didn't have a smoke, they had no nitro cells, they had a couple of impacts, sure, but that was used to stop the wall from being opened up. And if you just crouch with your exothermic charge, most of the time that impact grenade is going to miss because how high you have to throw it, with the soft part of the wall being, so elevated in comparison to just crouching and putting the thermite charge so low to the ground. So with the wall being opened up, with there being 2 whole sets of stuns, 2 grenades, you can't even use Throne Room as a power spot to stop a maintenance execute. So for Low Swan, they quite literally had nothing to stop that, and they were down a player as well, because they tried to get aggressive on the top floor, realizing that an execute, if it were to happen for Team Liquid, would be almost impossible to halt. Los One, they just had their hands tied and were brutally punished for, again, not having the right tools for the job against Liquid, which I feel like we've made that talking point a handful of times already, Joe.
Yeah, just Liquid proving that they can just do a better job of adapting to that utility game. It's not just how you play out a round, but just, I mean, simply picking the right operators, countering the utility that your opponents are bringing, or, as you pointed out, John, bringing out a piece of utility that your opponents are not prepared to counter. It's just a very good game plan for Liquid, and it's a safe game plan, one that has put themselves here on map point, on Theme Park, on their opponent's map pick, mind you. And here on map number 1, if Liquid can start out hot, I mean, that would not look good for Los One, who are fighting on the back foot in this series, according to, I think, what we all saw in the group stage leading up to this point. Volps will be the first death on this map point, at least map point number 1. So this one, a particularly good start for Los One at least. But they still have a lot more work to do. The Nook, of course, denied by a goo mine, tried to back off and remove that from her foot, and then, of course, got exposed and got caught out.
And now there isn't anyone that's currently manning that front to play in the first floor. That's typically the Nook's job, because they can delay a lot of information, whether it be, visually or audibly. Now that's Reset's job to do that. Sure, he's got stun grenades to maybe help himself, but his logic bombs have already been deployed. He's got no other drones, so he's kind of walking in blind in this first floor. So it's going to be a lot more challenging for him to do the same job that Volps was looking to accomplish in comparison to just having Volps there. That was a really important opening engagement by Maya, and it's kind of forced Liquid at a standstill with that man disadvantage as well.
Funny that we're seeing Nesk in this position, the same position that as a defender he tried to maintain for so long. This time he's working his way in to a familiar setup to him. You've got Dash on the other side. Now on the other side of this map, at least, you've got Liquid making their entry from this east position, already pushing in and getting a kill, equalizing us to that 4v4. But I mean, take a look at the clock here and take a look at the progress that Liquid have made. Not a lot of map control to speak of, and not a lot of time left on this clock.
Still plenty of goo mines in the pocket of Maya. Could maybe deploy them last minute, but there is only one Toxic Babe. Dots hoping to spare that for the final seconds of this round, and that could still build up a lot of opportunities for Los One. And there it is, deployed over by Control, slowing down that clear from the cache side of the map. But here comes the flank by Ness, beautifully done, but it only nets him 1.
That's a huge play from Ness, but so vital that Los One denied it. Now they're up by 1, up by 2 men, make it 3, and make it the round. Los One survive. They take round number 9, and they put themselves into a fighting chance. They give themselves a fighting chance going into the second half of Theme Park, right? This is not over yet. Liquid have a big advantage, but Los One are going to start to chip away.
And I talked about this earlier, Jonah, the presence of yellow stairs for bunk and daycare and armory and throne. And we saw that kind of build up. You didn't have Maya winning that opening engagement. If you didn't see that happen, then that could have been a completely different round. You wouldn't have needed to see Team Liquid adapt and go all the way across the map, both Control and Cash Room. You wouldn't have seen Nest give up Cafe and try to creep up yellow stairs. So just that single entry kill determined how the rest of the round was going to play out. We need to see more of that aggression and more of that punishment by Los One when someone just is jumping the gun on what they're looking to accomplish. If we don't see that by Los One against Team Liquid here, then we might see Theme Park close out rather shortly, despite that good resurgence round by Los One. Don't get me wrong. And funny enough, Jonah, it was when Los One were looking to crank up that aggression is when they found the most success against Team Liquid. You had that round we just saw in the 9th one, and then you had both drone attacks by them in the first half.
That last round, I mean, you've got to think that Liquid aren't going to change their game plan after that. I mean, the only difference in that one being they just took a little too long to work their way from that east side. If you're approaching bunk and daycare from Cash, from Dragon, you've just got to clear out initiation and office a little bit quicker than they did. relying on that play from Nesk up those yellow stairs. He got one, but he was traded. That was the critical kill from Los One that gave them the round. If they do not trade that kill from Nesk, they lose the map. But they hung on and pushed through. They're going to have to do it again, though. Lab and storage is where they're going to hope to make it happen. Maya transitioning over to the Solus, and a powerful information-focused operator here that can quickly determine how Liquid are trying to take this map, and he can quickly communicate to the rest of his team where they should be playing as a result.
That info game going to be a necessity for Los One, with there being so many options for Team Liquid as to how they're going to approach in round number 9 for their attack. It seems like there's still a presence up above on that hatch, so at any given moment, Ness could drop to help assist the players coming in either from Cafe, for example, maybe someone pushing in from Monk, and so far, no one too aggressive underneath. There's the first spark of an engagement by Loban as he catches Nats, funny enough, dropping down the hatch, but resets is right behind him. So there's a trade onto the Belusi, but there's still plenty of defenders up above, playing by both Cafe and down through the yellow hallway. But as I say that, Lagonis springs up and catches Maya off guard. The man advantage back in the favor of Liquid.
Yeah, this is where it can be so hit or miss for Los One. Rise, careful here, buddy. This is risky. He gets one, but he needs to consider dropping away. Never mind, dash with another swing onto Lagonis. Los One do not want to give Team Liquid an inch, and while this is that high-risk, high-reward playstyle that can often put you in really awkward positions in the late round, at least here on map point number 2, it's working just fine for Los One. They have fought back, retaking that advantage, and putting Team Liquid onto the back foot again.
For Olu, maybe looking for the smoke if he's a bit too aggressive here. It's going to be such a challenge to come in through that storage window. I think they've got to just go in through bathroom and maybe hope for the best. Palu has to win this engagement, so he has more room to breathe for his teammate.
Here he goes. Probably a simultaneous entry from him and Volps, but Volps gets shut down quick. Palu, having no teammate to rely on, walks into the shotgun angle behind the deployable shield and simply has no options at that point. Another round that Los One will take, narrowing the gap to just 2.
Luckily, that aggression once again paying dividends for Los One, but a timeout called it a really decent moment for Team Liquid. They still have a couple of rounds to breathe before overtime could be procced by Los One, and at least the site pool has been thinned quite substantially for Los One. We saw them win both Bunk and Lab, so most likely we're going to see Throne, since there has been a substantial lack of office and initiation in this round. So looking to see what they can replicate from both of their theme park attacks, or at least both their Throne attacks on theme park, to see what Los One might try to change up in their composition, like again, bringing more plant denial or execute denial with those toxic babes, and seeing what they could do to remedy that, like maybe having a bigger emphasis on that top floor clear and looking to take gunfights early on so they can build up that man advantage. And there it is. Arsenal being picked out by Los One and a Smoke and Warden to try and adjust against the plant-focused compositions that Team Liquid have been going for.
That's tough, though, because this site has been won by Liquid twice already on this half alone, John. It's not a decision that I think Los One have made lightly, however. As you pointed out, they've got a pretty clear idea of how they want to counter this. No longer are we seeing a lineup so focused on the roam. Yes, you've got someone like Dash, who's likely going to be all over the place. Someone like even Maya or Rise who can do the same thing. But it's not the Alibi Mozzie combination that Los One brought out in the opening 2 rounds of this half. Instead, the smoke. That's the real emphasis here. And if Dots can make that deployable shield and those 3 toxic babes work for him, I think this could be a very different story here for Team Liquid. They're doing away with the Monty, and that's a smart call, but they're going to have a lot of work to do if they want to take this site, given the shift in the lineup that Los One are showing us.
I really like the change by resets as well, getting off the Amaru, expecting potentially to see a Frost, since that was brought out a single time by Los One when defending Throne, but also to stop the impact tricks, with Lagonis only having 3 Selmas at his disposal, and with there being about 3 impacts in total, there's a solid chance you might not have an entryway into the bomb site unless you have those Habana pellets to potentially force out those impacts before you have the main course to be deployed on the breaches below. So that's a really small adjustment by Team Liquid that could pay dividends if they're allowed to execute in that first floor. Because again, although Los1 have a lot of utility focused on the bomb site, they are still extending up above because they want to waste as much time as possible and maybe get aggressive and look for that first gunfight.
And I think you're right. Volps has recognized that and, made a little quick move into that bottom arcade side of things, trying to make his presence felt, at least over in that yellow corridor, potentially, if he rotates around through lab, through bathroom, and to that position. So right now, again, still in the early round, Team Liquid just jockeying for position. Los1 just trying to go blow for blow with this map control as Team Liquid sees it slowly back off while still wasting drones, wasting time. But a play from Loban, top Dragon, that's where things could potentially get a bit messier because now he's going to have to make a move. Volps, his position is now known, but he claims a kill at the same time, putting Team Liquid into a great spot. And Los1, now these roamers are going to have to make very important choices about when to rotate back.
Loban just currently hiding here by maintenance. Still seems like a majority of Team Liquid wants to push in from this direction, but they're not limiting themselves to just the back of maintenance. They have some people over by arcade. Again, we saw Volps earlier inside of lab as well, so you could have an opportunity to push in from either maintenance or split in the late round. But once again, that presence of Loban, if they have no info, someone's between both Gong and maintenance, that could allow a complete division of Team Liquid to just flat out die in this position, force them to funnel only from maintenance and split.
Well, things have slowed down just a touch for Liquid, and while this is good to see this patience, you've got to watch out for someone like Loban. If time gets low enough, Loban could literally win the round off of a hero play just like this. Volps needs to be wary of this. EU1D goes out. That'll freeze Loban in his position, but now he swings. Oh, and he gets clapped. Volps is eating up, and he wants more. Here comes the drop for Team Liquid. There's another. Make that a triple for Volps. Lagonis with the final blow in round 11. Theme Park, map number 1, will go the way of Team Liquid. They are hungry for Copenhagen. They've got their eyes set on the prize, and map 1 will go their way. So far, so good.
A clinical display by Liquid, not losing throne a